Okay, we are good to go again. Unfortunately, what happened there was my computer has crashed. My Mac is really quite old, and at this stage, it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I get that little rainbow, that little circle of death, as I like to call it, which indicates that I need to go out and make a big purchase for my business. But anyway, that's a different conversation. Let's get stuck in. We're here today because I want to teach you 3 great skills that you can use when you're working with your clients online. So let's just get straight into it. I'm not going to even try and use PowerPoint. Instead, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. So the first exercise that we're doing today is called the journey. Now, this is an exercise that uses a combination of different techniques. So we're looking at William Glasser's reality therapy. We're looking at a little bit of NLP in terms of outcome development and outcome creation. And what I would suggest that you do is, if you're working online the way you and I are working right now, then the best thing to do is to say to your client to grab a pen and a piece of paper and to simply draw out a road, something similar to what you can see here on the screen. And then at the end of the road, to draw a square to represent a billboard, and to write in that what it is that they want to achieve by actually having therapy with you. And then the next thing that you want to ask them to do is to draw the sun, right? And in the sun, to write down at least 3 big benefits that they will gain when they have achieved their goal. And obviously to share this information with you. So what's happening here is, straight away, you're encouraging your client to start thinking about solutions before we even start looking at what the problem is. And this means that they have a solution-focused mindset from the get-go. And if you're doing this as a precursor to actually meeting them in person, what's going to happen is you're going to have built up a lot of rapport and trust with your clients before they show up for their in-person session. So get 3 big benefits and ask them to write them into the cloud. Now, into the sun, okay? So now you have the goal, and you have at least 3 big benefits they'll get by achieving that goal. The next thing we want to do is to take a look at where they are now. And probably the reason why they're having coaching or therapy with you right now is because they're feeling stuck. So ask them, what are the thoughts that keep them stuck? Or what are the thoughts that sabotage their success? And then ask them to describe, what are the things they do, the behaviors or the habits that they have that stop them from moving forward? And then ask them, how does that make them feel? Or what are the feelings that underpin those negative thoughts and those negative patterns of behavior? And they're going to go in the cloud, because let's face it, this is the dark cloud that's hanging over them. And it's this cloud that's stopping them from actually taking this journey and having the success and achieving the goals that they want to have in life. All right, so straight away, you can see that you're making a lot of progress here, and you're asking your clients questions in a very interesting and engaging way. You're not going too heavy on the therapy. And because you're doing this online, it's light and it's insightful. And because it's actually going on paper, the benefit for your client is they actually begin to see their problem and the solution mapped out on paper in front of them. Now, every single journey that we take through life must start at the beginning, and it's going to have a middle bit, and it's going to have an end. And it's the same when you're working with your clients and providing them with psychotherapy or counseling or hypnotherapy or coaching or whatever it is that you do. And although you may have some amazing tools and techniques up your sleeve, the fact of the matter is, when your clients come to see you, they need to start here at the start, okay? And the start of every journey means that if we really want to be successful, we need to know where we're going. And so we need to map out some signposts that will indicate that we're on the right track and that we are moving forward and we're actually going in the right direction. So the next thing to ask your client to do is to draw out 3 signposts like you see here in green, and then ask them, how will you know that you're being successful? How will you know that you're on the right track? And if they fill these 3 in here, they then have a way to recognize that they are in fact making progress and that they will in fact reach their goals. Now, I don't know, but if you're anything like me, I bet that you're one of these people who very often punishes yourself for the mistakes that you make. Well, this process eliminates that, because the next thing you're going to ask your client is to write down, to think about and to write down how can they reward themselves for the efforts that they're making and the progress that they achieve along the way. So you can see 3 little R's here. So get them to think about some rewards that they could give themselves. Now, the rewards can really be quite simple. It doesn't have to be anything amazing or too fancy. It could be just the enjoyment of a long leisurely walk, or a long soak in the bath, or going out and buying a lovely scented candle, or just something that marks their progress. It's where they acknowledge to themselves that they are making progress and that things are moving forward. Now, the next thing we want to do is to take this journey, we need to make sure that we're in the right vehicle, one that's really suited to taking this journey, that's going to be able to not just survive, but to thrive along this journey, because the path to success isn't a linear path. It's often made up of a lot of challenges and a lot of frustrations that will come along. And the vehicle that each of us have been given is our body and our mind. So in many ways, we're all in this four-wheel drive vehicle called the self. And reality therapy tells us that although it's a 4-wheel drive, the 2 wheels that really drive the vehicle forward are our thoughts and our behaviors. And they're the 2 wheels at the front. And at the back end, we have our physiology and we have our feelings. And so as long as we are able to continually check in with the vehicle, with ourselves, and as long as we're able to consistently get feedback from this vehicle, ourselves, on this journey, well, then we can constantly adjust and fine-tune our thoughts, our behaviors, our feelings, and our physiology. So I would say to you, it would take about half an hour for you to actually go through this exercise with your clients online. And when they have this done, I would say to you the best thing to do would be for them to take a snapshot of it and to send it to you. Now, no doubt you'll be taking notes as you go along anyway. And you can use this template then to design the very first session with this brand new client. So what I'd say that what you might want to say then to wrap up this online coaching session is to say thanks for sharing so much information with me. And with this information now, my job is to go and design a great session so that when I meet you in person next week, that we've done so much work already that we can go really deep together and make sure that you start getting to where you need to be. And that's it. So that is our learning outcome number 1. So our next learning outcome that we have today is a really important one. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes we get clients who come to us and they are a victim of their own cognitions. They think in black and white. It's either a success or a failure. And as you know, when it comes to therapy and coaching, there's so much gray areas, and we need to make sure that our clients understand that when they take the therapy journey with us, that there will be some gray areas. And as long as we are constantly getting feedback from our clients, well, then we're able to do our job. So the one that we're looking at here today is there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. Now, unfortunately, because the way the technology is set up, I'm thinking you're seeing all of this backwards. But why don't you grab a pen and a piece of paper and write this down right across the top of it? There is no such thing as failure, only feedback. Now let's go back to reality therapy and to Glasser's car here. If we are constantly checking in with the self, the vehicle that we have to take this journey, if we know the thoughts, if we know the behaviors, if we know the feelings and the physiology that's keeping us stuck, well, then we can change those things. And when we know these things as a client and we become aware of them, then we're able to share those with our therapist. And of course, as a therapist, you have so many different ways that you can help your clients to change their thoughts, change their feelings, change their behaviors, change their physiology, so that they're able to step into the future, so that they're able to step out of their comfort zone, and so they're able to manage any anxiety or trepidation they may feel as they move forward in life. So this is one of the things we need to set up with our clients. We need to establish with them that as long as they are giving us feedback about how they feel, how they think, and how they're behaving, well, then we can do our job. So let me give you an example. Have you ever found yourself doing something really stupid? Well, I've certainly found myself in situations like that. And then I have the thought, what was I thinking? But the thing is, usually we don't actually answer that question, do we? We just go, oh my God, what was I thinking when I did that? And we kind of repress it and try and forget about it, and we push it away. When it comes to therapy, we don't do that. We ask the question, but then we answer it. So suggest to your clients the next time something goes wrong, to check in with themselves and ask themselves, what was I actually thinking? And to actually become aware of what those thoughts were. And also to ask the question, what was I doing? And to answer it. And the same, what was I actually feeling? What feeling did I have that actually drove me to act or to think or to behave in that way? Because if our clients check in with themselves and then give us back this information, there is so much that we can do for them when they're sitting with us in person. Now, the other side of this feedback equation is, as therapists, our clients need to consistently tell us two things, and I call these the WWWs, right? The first thing we need to know from our clients is what's working well. Because if they tell us what's working well, well, then that means that we can enhance that and improve it and embed it and strengthen it within their subconscious mind. And the other thing that we need to know, of course, is what went wrong, because things do go wrong. You know, we sabotage ourselves all the time. You know, we experience frustration and we become intolerant of things that are going on. And a great example of intolerance is today you're here with me on this webinar and the technology failed. And this is something that can happen very often when you're actually using the online space. And when it happens, we have to be able to just get over it, to fix it, and to move on. So once we know what went wrong, as therapists, we can then use that information and do something positive with it. Now, let's say you're my client and I have made an arrangement with you to check in and see how you're getting on. And so I pick up the phone, or maybe I join you in an online setting like this, and I ask you, so what works well? What's working well for you this week? And you tell me what it is. Or you tell me, Susan, nothing is working well for me this week. Everything has gone completely wrong. You won't believe what's actually happened, right? Now we're into the what went wrong. My job is to help you to manage that frustration or that fear or that anxiety or that self-sabotage long enough until I can actually get you back with me in person, and so that we can actually do some very deep work. And that brings us on to our third and our very last learning outcome today. And that is one that comes from rational self-analysis. It comes from the work of Wayne Fogart, if you're familiar with him. And it's a really simple framework. Now, you're probably saying it backwards. So what I would suggest that you do is grab yourself a sheet of paper and to simply write down the letters A, B, C, D, and E like you see here. And I'm going to then say to you, okay, will you write down where you see the A? I want you to write down what we call the activating event. Basically, explain to me exactly what happened. Where were you and what was going on? All right? You'll explain that to me and I'll say, write it down for me, okay? Now, once you have actually written that down, the next thing I'm going to say to you is, what is the belief that you formed when that happened? Okay? So I'll give you a really simple example. Let's say your client came to you because they had a fear of driving on motorways, all right? And the activating event was they were doing the weekly shop and they got a call and they decided to take a shortcut across some busy traffic and they ended up feeling anxious and panicky, okay? So the activating event was they tried to come out of their comfort zone. They went on on a road with fast moving traffic. Okay, the next thing I'm going to say is, what's the belief you formed when that happened? And the belief that they would have formed in that moment was, I can't do this. Therapy has failed for me. I'm useless. I'll never change. I'm stuck. I'm never going to be able to drive on motorways again. That's the belief that they formed in the moment. So what was the consequences of that belief? So in a case like that, the consequences would probably be that they felt so panicky and anxiety that they just went home and they made the decision that they would never go on the roads again. All right. So now we have the A, B, and C of the problem. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to encourage our clients to what we call break state. And that's to shake off the problem for a minute and to think outside the box. And you might want to ask them something like, if this was to happen to your best friend, what is it that you would say to them to help them feel better? How, in other words, how would you dispute the B, the belief? Okay. Now we want our client to start thinking about how they can dispute the negative belief they had. Give your client time, because they really have to think outside of their failure mentality here. And we want them to come up with something like, look, maybe if I was more planned and prepared, it would have been easier. I should have used my breathing technique. You know, I should have given myself some affirmations, you know, or maybe I'm just not ready yet. Maybe I need more therapy or whatever, but we need them to start disputing this belief. Because as long as our clients are holding on to these negative beliefs, well, then it's very difficult for them to change. And then E. E is for energization. Remember, you're on the phone to your client. You only just call to check in with them and see how they're getting on. And now they've suddenly kind of thrown this failure at you. It's no good. I'm useless. I can't. I won't. I don't. And all that kind of stuff. So your job really is to make sure that you get your client into the right frame of mind to come back and take the next stage of therapy with you. Remember this one? They're here. They're going there. And something went wrong. They had a degree of success and boom, failure mentality set in again. That doesn't mean that they have failed. It just means they've experienced a setback. So we need to get our client back in to teach them how to manage anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So energization is about getting your client to access their creative mind and to say, look, what I want you to do now is to put that aside and to take a moment and to remember the amazing benefits that you're going to experience when you are able to successfully drive on the motorway and when you feel calm, relaxed, and confident, no matter how fast moving the traffic is. Because now you know exactly what happens when you face a difficult situation. You know the beliefs that are formed and you know how they create negative consequences. So by coming back and having therapy with me, we're going to work here on these beliefs and we're going to change them so that the next time that you feel a little bit anxious or uncertain, I want to make sure that you have the experience in your body, the physiology, remember this one, to be able to access deep calmness and relaxation no matter where you are. So that's what we're going to do here is we want our clients to really think forward and to regain that solution-based mentality so that they begin to see that, look, this is simply a setback. It's not the end, and to highlight the fact that, look, you are making progress. And once you can tap in to that deep level of relaxation, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in or how something can trigger anxiety or stress. You will always be able to tap into that calmness inside you. But to do that, you need to come back and book your very next session. Okay, so here we are. We're back to where we started. You've now got 3 fantastic mind coaching sessions that you can do with your clients online. This one here, the ABCDE. I like to use this when I'm checking in with my clients between sessions. I never spend more than 15 minutes doing this. Remember, the purpose is to get your client back into the chair and having therapy with you. By doing this and by understanding what went wrong, it means that you can plan a fantastic session for your client and really deliver pinpoint therapy that's really focused on sorting this stuff out. This one here, no such thing as failure, only feedback. I like to get this short 15-minute mind coaching session in, usually between the 2nd and 3rd session. Because if you've watched any of my other masterclasses, you'll know that your clients take an emotional journey when they engage in therapy. And this prepares them for the ups and downs that we can all expect when we are making profound changes in our life. And of course, the one we started off with today is the one that you can do before you even see your clients, so that you're able to plan and prepare their journey for success. Now, what happens when you are actually working in person with your clients? Well, there are tons and tons of things that you can do. And if you have worked with me before, you know that one of the things that I like to do is what I call a 10 tactics approach. Think of any problem that your clients might present with? And is it true that in order to help them, that you have to help them access the control center of their mind? Is it true that you need to ask them the right questions? Well, you certainly have been asking some of the right questions here today. Is it that you need to help them unlock their personal power? Do you need to show them how to transform fear and anxiety into calmness and relaxation? Would you need to help them to reframe the negative experiences of the past and finish any unfinished emotional business? Do you need to help them to restructure their thinking and end self-sabotage? You've been doing a little bit of that today. Do you need to help them to develop positive patterns of action using neuro-linguistic programming? We've done a teeny little bit of that here today. Do you need to help them to manage their willpower and to surf the urge to prevent relapse? Well, if that's the case, you've definitely learned some fantastic skills here today. Do you need to help them to buffer against depression? If so, that's another amazing tool. And look, what you have learned here also helps buffer against depression, because you're creating a roadmap here to success. And do you need to teach your clients how to manifest abundance and prosperity in their lives? And I'm not talking about wealth here. I'm talking about the really important things, relationships. I'm talking about health. I'm talking about happiness. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about work and all that kind of stuff. Well, if that's the case, these are the things, just some of the things that you learn on the triple diploma course in hypnotherapy, mind coaching, which is what we've been doing here today, and also in online therapy, which is what you've been doing today. Here's our course manuals, and that is filled with all the 10 tools that you'll need to help your clients. Not only that, to help you to really plan out your sessions. Of course, another thing that you can do is, if you have trained with me already, or if you've signed up for our next triple diploma course, is you can access 101 therapy interventions from your tablet, from your phone, which means you've 101 interventions in your back pocket. You'll never be stuck for something to say or do with your clients again. And you can access them all here. They're all done following the same format of the 10 tools. Access the control center of the mind, ask revealing questions, unlock personal power with the 3 master keys, transform fear and anxiety so they can step out of their comfort zone, reframe the past with regression therapy, restructure thinking and end self-sabotage. We all need a little bit of that. Develop positive patterns of action with NLP. Manage willpower and surf the urge, buffer against depression, and manifest abundance. So you get tons of stuff on the triple diploma course. But look, you've also got a ton of stuff here today. I think I have been talking now for about, 25 minutes. And within that space, you have learned 3 fantastic mind coaching techniques that you can use with your clients online or by phone, but also in person and also in groups. So the takeaway that I want for you today is to never be afraid of getting feedback from your clients. The only way that the quality of your therapy can consistently improve is if you schedule or arrange to call or connect with your clients between sessions, check in with them and find out what's working well, and listen to them when they say what's gone wrong, and provide a solution or a framework within that moment to make sure that they realize that this is what happens when you're taking a journey, that things sometimes go wrong. We all go off course every now and then, but we have our signposts to success. We have our rewards for making sure we achieve our objectives. And as long as you and I are continually speaking together and sharing this feedback, well, then you can't but make progress. So thank you so much for being with me here today. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm now going to go and have a look at my emails and see what questions have actually come in. And I will be very happy to answer any of those questions for you. So this is Susan Wallace saying goodbye for now, and chat soon.